All right, welcome back to the Coach's Corner Show, brought to you by Beggar's Pizza. All right, our guest in this segment, Tom Mulvey, good friend of ours from Athletic Sports and Orthopedic Physical Therapy, 3 locations, Oak Lawn, Hometown, and Orland Park. Tom, thanks for coming on board again. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, people love these segments. In this segment right here, we're going to educate our viewers on stretching. All right, why do we stretch? All athletes should stretch, no matter if you're a teenager or if you're an older middle-aged person like myself. So, Tom, why do we stretch?
Typically, stretching is used as a warm-up for an activity, either working out or playing in a game. And there's really 3 reasons that we do it. One is to get an efficient movement of the joint so that the muscles of the joint allow it to move properly and through full range. The other is to allow a particular muscle group to elongate more efficiently so that that muscle tends to avoid injury. And the third reason is allow us to create a muscle that can actually acquire more and proper strength because it's able to go through full movement.
You know what, Tom, I'm a jogger. I run, I do my stretch before I get rolling. Once I'm done doing my workout, muscles start to tighten up a little bit, and why does that occur?
It's a good question. You have 2 groups of muscles. You have we'll say for all intents and purposes, the agonist, which is one muscle that's on one side of the joint. On the other side, you have the antagonist. For the purpose of this explanation, what we'll say is that the agonist tends to become a little bit tighter because it's a little bit stronger, and as it's stronger, it keeps you in a position in which that muscle can maintain its most efficient movement. Problem is, the opposite muscle group then tends to become tighter because it's not allowed to be in its normal amount of range. The one muscle dominates by keeping you in a particular position, while the other muscle is kept in a position in which it's not in its normal amount of range. So we need to be able to work both muscles so that the changes that occur become less likely and less permanent.
Okay, Tom, and all my life I played baseball, hockey. Fortunately, I never pulled a muscle. We had a wiffle ball tournament for Blue Island Little League in the fall and almost pulled a muscle. And, how does that happen? I mean, I did my stretching and I felt a little twinge there, but how does that happen still?
Let's say the hamstring is tight. In the muscle itself, there are little nerve endings that tell it when it's being elongated to its maximum extent. They're both in the tendon and in the muscle itself. If that hamstring becomes strong and tight, and for this purpose of this explanation, the quadricep is not strong enough to keep it elongated, that muscle starts to stay in a slightly flexed position, and therefore those tissues adapt and become tighter. And now what happens is that athlete will go through some avenue of stretching or perhaps some warm-up, maybe do nothing at all.
Yep.
And now goes out, and when he goes or she goes to, say for instance, into a sprint and elongate that muscle where it's not used to being elongated, those nerve endings perceive it, fire up to protect the muscle, and that high velocity stretch as well as contraction can allow those tissues to become injured and damaged.
And obviously, stretching does prevent this from happening, a pull of the muscle, right?
It is probably the best course of action that we can take.
Yep.
But what tends to happen here is a lot of our young athletes are taught to passively stretch. They'll put their leg up on a bench, go into a stretch position, have their fellow teammate, maybe they'll lay on the ground, they'll push them up and put them into a position. And the problem with that is that the opposite muscle group does not learn to become stronger so that it can maintain that proper length.
Yep.
What we like to teach is something that's called active stretching. And active stretching, if I'm looking to elongate the hamstring, I use an active movement in which that hamstring will be elongated, but also I make the opposite muscle contract so that it puts that muscle into an elongated position, and the two it helps to make them become more permanent because it'll keep it in that position longer and more permanently.
Now, what about all these people that stretch passively? That's how everyone is pretty much taught to do this, right?
Right. And that's fine. I would just try to advocate with those people to try to bring in more active movement. Try to make it certain exercise, special exercises that target the specific muscles that are tight, so that we can keep them elongated and make it a more permanent correction. Passive stretching will help to get those muscles somewhat warm. Active stretching, where that muscle is taught to elongate as well as the opposite muscle is made stronger, will make a more permanent change.
All right, great. Tom, thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, folks, remember, Athletex, 3 locations, hometown, Oak Lawn, Orland Park, 19 years in business. Tom knows what he's talking about. Okay, folks, we're going to go to a Labriella Bakery timeout. Get out your text phones. Isaac text poll question sponsored by Standard Bank. Chance to win $50 when we return.